The wind cut through the cemetery like a blade, cold and sharp, as I stepped from the black, unmarked police cruiser. My hands trembled, not from the cold, but from a rage I'd never known before. Rage and heartbreak. I was about to confront my daughter, Emily, my only child, the one I used to cradle in my arms during thunderstorms, who once called me her hero. They said she faked my death. They said she signed the papers, forged the doctor's note, and claimed the money. But I hadn't believed it. Not at first. Until I saw my own obituary. Until I stood beside my own grave. Now, as the funeral ceremony droned on under a canopy near my tombstone, I walked forward with the police trailing behind me. My legs felt heavy as concrete. A dozen eyes turned toward me, but it was Emily's face I searched for. When I saw it, everything inside me cracked. She was crying. Real tears. But not for me. She looked up, saw me, and froze. For a moment, I think she believed I was a ghost. And maybe I was. Because the man she buried wasn't the one walking toward her now. 2 months earlier, I was living quietly in a rented apartment on the outskirts of Kansas City, enjoying the uneventful peace of retirement. I'd left the VA hospital a few years back and hadn't spoken to Emily much since the pandemic. She'd moved to Seattle, remarried, and changed jobs. We talked now and then, holidays, birthdays, polite texts. Nothing deep, nothing warm. She said life was busy. I said I understood. But the truth is, I missed her every day. On August 17th, I went to refill my prescription at the local clinic. The nurse at the window looked puzzled. "Oh, Mr. Harrison." I thought, hold on a second. She tapped her keyboard like she was solving a mystery, then narrowed her eyes. "It says here you're deceased." I laughed. "Well, that's news to me." She didn't laugh back. I showed her my ID, social security, everything. My heart started pounding. I hadn't been in any accidents. I wasn't sick. Hell, I still played poker at the VFW every Friday. But the government thought I was dead. When I got home, I searched online. There it was. My obituary. My name. My birthday. My late wife's name. My daughter Emily listed as loving survivor. The short bio ended with, "Mr. James Harrison will be remembered in a private family ceremony." Private, meaning no one could challenge it. And I hadn't been invited. Because I wasn't supposed to be alive. I contacted a lawyer friend from the Army. He didn't laugh either. Said it could be fraud. Insurance fraud. He made a few calls and found that Emily had already claimed a life insurance payout of $250,000. She'd used an expedited process through a fake physician. The air went out of my lungs. Emily, my girl. I thought about all the birthday cards I'd sent with gift cards she never acknowledged. The voicemails. The "I miss you" texts that got no reply. Had she really done this? Then I remembered our last conversation. She'd asked if I'd updated my will. I told her I'd meant to, but hadn't gotten around to it. She'd sounded disappointed. I thought it was concern. Maybe it wasn't. My lawyer told me to go to the police. I hesitated. "She's my daughter," I told him. He just looked at me. "She buried you, Jim. You can't ignore that." The police launched an investigation. They advised me not to contact her. Not yet. They needed evidence. Surveillance, paperwork, insurance policies. I agreed. But each night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what had gone so wrong between us. Had she hated me that much? Or needed money that badly? Or both? It took 6 weeks to gather enough proof. They subpoenaed the insurance company and confirmed the money had been transferred to an account under Emily's name. They found emails sent from a burner phone, claiming I'd passed away in my sleep. A forged death certificate from a defunct clinic. They were ready to arrest her. But I asked for something first. "Let me see her. One last time. Before you put the cuffs on." The detective was reluctant, but agreed. "We'll do it at the funeral. She won't expect that." Funeral? She's holding one. Next Tuesday. A symbolic one. Closed casket. I almost laughed. A funeral for a man who still had back pain and morning breath. "She's that confident it worked?" I asked. The detective nodded grimly. Which brings us back to that moment. Back to the cemetery. Back to the stunned faces and Emily's pale skin as she stood above my empty coffin. "Dad," she whispered. My throat was dry, but I managed to say it. "Hello, Emily." The murmurs from the crowd turned into gasps. Someone dropped their purse. Another stepped backward, knocking over a chair. Emily's face twisted. Not with relief. With panic. The 2 officers moved forward. One read her rights while the other placed the cuffs around her wrists. Her mouth opened and closed like she couldn't decide whether to cry or scream. "Why?" I asked. It came out hoarse and broken. She didn't answer, just stared at the grass. Back at the station, I sat across from her in the interview room. I'd asked them to let me talk to her. Alone. Maybe I needed answers. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe both. Emily wouldn't look me in the eye. "Tell me," I said. "Was it about the money?" Still silence. "I would have helped you. I always would have helped you." Her eyes finally met mine. They were hollow. "I didn't think you'd live much longer anyway," she said. It hit me like a slap. I thought, "What's the difference if it's a few years early?" she whispered. "You barely have anyone left." I thought maybe this could help me. Help Liam, he's my son, go to college. It's not like I hated you. I swallowed hard. "That's not love, Emily." She broke then. Started sobbing. Ugly, heavy sobs that racked her whole body. "I didn't know how to ask for help," she choked. "I was drowning, Dad. I thought you were never coming back. After Mom died, you just disappeared. I thought maybe you didn't care anymore." My fists clenched, nails digging into my palms. "You think I disappeared?" I called. I wrote. "You shut the door." I didn't know how to open it again. We sat in silence. Maybe for a minute. Maybe an hour. They charged her with multiple counts: fraud, falsification of documents, and attempted theft. She got 10 years. I didn't attend the trial. Didn't speak to the press. But I visited her once, 6 months later. She looked older. Thinner. I brought her a photo. The last picture we took together before her mother died. Emily was 17. I was holding her hand at a fairground, cotton candy in the other. "I remember this," she whispered. "I don't want to remember you like this," I said. She nodded. Said nothing more. I left. But I left the photo. I spent the next few weeks in a kind of fog. There's no manual for how to move on after your child betrays you like that. People think the worst pain comes from enemies, but betrayal from someone you raised, someone you loved, without condition cuts in a place deeper than bone. Every day, I woke up still breathing, still blinking at the sunlight, still pouring the same black coffee into the same chipped mug. But the world didn't look the same anymore. My own face in the mirror felt like someone else's. A man who had been pronounced dead and buried but was still somehow walking. I got letters. From reporters, attorneys, even strangers who had read the story. They called it the funeral resurrection, the insurance miracle, and worse, the ghost father. But I didn't answer them. I didn't want fame. I wanted peace. And peace, I had learned, is not a thing easily bought back once it's been stolen. Then one day in late October, I received a letter from Emily. It was handwritten. 3 pages. The envelope had been sent from the state correctional facility, where she would spend the next decade paying for what she did. I let it sit on my counter for 2 days. On the 3rd, I poured myself that same bitter coffee and opened it. "Dad, I know I have no right to write to you. I understand if you never read this, or if you tear it up before you even get to the second sentence. But I needed to try. I've been trying to figure out how to start. How do you apologize to someone you buried alive? How do you say sorry to the man who gave you everything, and who you repaid with a forged signature? The truth is, there is no excuse that could ever make what I did okay. I was selfish. I was desperate. But most of all, I was broken in a way I didn't know how to fix. After Mom died, I never dealt with it. I blamed you for not saving her. I blamed the world. And then I blamed you again, when you got quiet and sad and pulled away. I told myself you didn't care, that you had already moved on. I know now that was a lie I told myself to keep from admitting I was hurting. The debt piled up. Liam needed school clothes. The car broke down. I lost my second job. I was drowning. And in that dark place, I did something unforgivable. I thought, what if I just accelerated what was already coming? I told myself you were old, tired, alone, that maybe you wouldn't even mind, that you'd understand. But then you walked into that funeral, and I saw you. You were still here. You were alive. And I realized, in that moment, how dead I had become inside. I will carry the guilt for the rest of my life. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I wanted you to know that I wake up every day wishing I had asked for help instead of planning a funeral. I'm sorry, Dad. I truly am. Love. Emily. I read it twice. Then a 3rd time. And I wept. I wept not for what she had done, but for the little girl who used to fall asleep on my chest while I read her goodnight moon. I wept for the daughter I lost to a world that taught her to be quiet about her pain. I wept for the man who didn't see how far she was sinking until it was too late. I didn't write her back. Not yet. But I started going to a support group. Grief counseling. Not for the dead, but for the betrayed. Other parents who had lost their children in different ways. Drugs, crime, alienation. One woman had a son on death row. A man had a daughter in a cult. Another had been robbed by his own nephew. The stories were all different. But the ache was the same. We sat in a circle once a week, drank bad coffee, and shared silence and sadness, and sometimes laughter. It helped more than I expected. I began to sleep again. Around Thanksgiving, I visited my wife's grave. The air was crisp, and the trees were bare. I brushed away some leaves from her headstone and placed a small bundle of chrysanthemums at the base. "I hope you can forgive her," I whispered. "Because I don't know if I can." A robin landed nearby. Just sat there, looking at me. No fear. No rush. Just presence. I used to believe in signs. Maybe I still did. December rolled in with gray skies and quiet mornings. I kept to myself mostly. Didn't watch the news. Didn't celebrate Christmas. But on New Year's Eve, my neighbor knocked on the door. Her name was Sharon. Late 60s, a widow, always offering extra soup or baked bread she claimed was too much for just one. She wore a bright red scarf and a smile that never quite faded, no matter how cold the wind got. "Thought you might like company," she said, holding up a thermos. "Mulled cider. Spiked." I let her in. We sat on the porch, wrapped in blankets, and watched the fireworks from the city skyline in the distance. "I heard about your story," she said softly, not prying, just observing. I nodded. "I can't imagine how that must feel. Some days, I still don't know how it feels." She was quiet for a moment. "Sometimes, the ones we love most break us the worst," she said. "Yeah," I replied. "But you can only stay broken if you want to be." She looked at me then, her eyes kind. "Do you want to be?" "No," I whispered. And that was the first honest answer I'd given in months. January was when the second letter came. This time, it was from a lawyer. Apparently, Emily had signed over half the insurance money into a victim restitution account. Technically, I wasn't dead, so there was legal mess to sort through, but the short version was this. I could reclaim the money. All of it, if I wanted. But it felt poisoned. Like taking back stolen goods from a burglar who happened to be family. I let it sit. I wasn't sure what I'd do. Then one day, I walked past a community center near the edge of town. The windows were foggy, and inside I saw a group of seniors in mismatched chairs, doing seated stretches to music. A young instructor clapped along, encouraging them. Outside the door was a faded sign. "Silver Strength. Free movement classes for seniors, donations welcome." I walked in and made my decision. I donated $50,000 anonymously to the center. Enough to expand their classes, fund transportation, and offer meals. The coordinator cried when she opened the envelope. I didn't need to see my name on anything. I just needed to know some good had come from the darkest thing that ever happened to me. I started volunteering there too. Helping older vets who had no one to talk to. Teaching poker nights. Even helped organize a trip to the botanical gardens. People smiled when I walked in. They called me Mr. H. And for the first time in a long while, I felt something that surprised me. Hope. Then spring arrived. And with it, a letter from Liam. Emily's son. He was 15 now. I hadn't seen him since he was 8. He sent a short note. "Dear Grandpa, Mom said what she did was wrong. I believe her. She told me everything. I just wanted to say I miss you. I remember when we used to play chess, and you let me win even though I was terrible. I hope I can see you someday. Love, Liam." I stared at that letter for hours. He had no blame in this. No guilt. Just a boy caught in the middle of a mother's mistake and a grandfather's grief. Maybe that's when I knew it was time to stop letting the past be a prison. Maybe it was time to answer. I sat down at my old wooden desk, the one Emily used to do her homework at back when life felt simple, and pulled out a fresh sheet of paper. My hand trembled a little as I held the pen. I'd written hundreds of letters in my life. This one took the longest. I addressed it not to Emily, but to Liam. "Dear Liam, thank you for your letter. You don't know how much it means to me. I still remember those chess games. And for the record, you weren't terrible. You just didn't know how to slow down and think 5 moves ahead. That comes with time. I've missed you too. A lot. Your mom made a very big mistake. One that hurt a lot of people, including you. But I want you to know something important. You are not responsible for the choices your parents make. You're a young man now. And if you still want to see me, I'd like that very much. Let's take things slow. Maybe a call first? I'll send my number at the bottom of this letter. You can use the prison phone to reach me on Sundays. I'll be waiting. Love. Grandpa. 2 weeks later, the phone rang on a Sunday afternoon. A correctional officer's voice came on first. Inmate 0047213's family member wishes to connect. Name: Liam Foster. I accepted the call. Grandpa. His voice cracked like a teenager trying to sound grown. Hey there, kid, I said gently. Silence. Then a sniffle. Are you mad at me? Never, I said. And just like that, something opened in both of us. We spoke every week after that. Just 15-minute calls, but they meant more to me than anything else. He told me about school, about how he was getting into coding, how he hated algebra but liked history. He asked about my dog, which I didn't have, so I told him about the squirrel that tried to break into my kitchen twice. I asked him what he wanted to be someday. A person who doesn't mess up like my mom, he said softly once. I told him that wasn't the right way to look at it. Want to know what real strength is? I asked. What? Learning from someone else's mistakes without having to repeat them. He didn't say anything, but I think it stuck. I also began the process of legally reclaiming my identity. It was harder than I expected. There were DMV records to update, medical files to reissue, government benefits that needed reactivation. Even my social security number had been flagged and partially deactivated. I spent 3 full days just proving to the IRS that I was not, in fact, dead. At the courthouse, the clerk looked at me like I was Lazarus himself. You're the guy from the news? She whispered. The one who crashed his own funeral? I gave a tired nod. She leaned in. Can I ask you something? Sure. Was she crying? Like, did she act shocked? I met her eyes and said, You ever see someone realize they just ruined their own soul in real time? She blinked. That's a yes. That's a yes. One afternoon, Sharon stopped by again with soup and her smile. You look less haunted, she said, sliding into the porch rocker beside me. Maybe I am. We ate in silence for a while. The sky was turning a dusty orange, and birds cut across it like black arrows. You ever think about forgiving her? She asked. I didn't answer immediately. I think about it every day, I admitted. But it's like standing on the edge of a cliff. I'm not sure if stepping forward means flying or falling. She reached over and squeezed my hand. Her skin was soft, warm, human. Sometimes you have to fall a little to learn how to fly again. I did visit Emily one more time. It was nearly a year after the funeral. The facility was gray and cold, like every prison I'd ever seen. But the waiting room had a vending machine and a mural of sunflowers painted on the back wall, as if optimism could be purchased or painted into existence. She was thinner, her hair pulled back tight. She looked tired but less fragile. She sat down across from me slowly, almost afraid I'd vanish like a ghost. Hi, she said, voice small. Hi, I replied. A long pause. I got your letter to Liam, she said. He read it to me. Twice. I nodded. He's a good kid. He's better than I ever was. I raised an eyebrow. Don't do that. Don't poison his future by hating your past. She looked down. I'm trying to be better, she whispered. I go to every class. I'm mentoring a few younger inmates. I know it doesn't make up for anything, but it's a start, I said. Then, carefully, I slid a photo across the table. It was the same one I'd left during my first visit, the one of us at the fairground. Her 17, me laughing with a funnel cake in my hand. You kept it, she said, stunned. I never threw away my daughter, I said. I just had to figure out how to find her again. Her eyes filled. Dad, do you think one day you might forgive me? I stared at her, and for the first time, I didn't see the woman who tried to bury me. I saw my child. I'm not there yet, I said honestly, but I'm walking toward it, one step at a time. She nodded, wiping her face. That's enough, she whispered. That's more than I deserve. That night, I sat on the porch and watched the stars. Sharon joined me again, 2 mugs of tea in her hands. You look lighter, she said. I saw her. And she's not who she was, but she's trying to be someone better. That's all any of us can do. I nodded. Then I reached out and took her hand without a word. And we just sat there, in the quiet, in the healing. Spring turned into summer. I bought a second-hand bike and started riding through the park trails on Saturday mornings. People began to recognize me less as the man from the funeral story and more as that older guy who tells really bad jokes at the community center. I like that better. Liam sent me his first real email pictures of a robot he built in shop class. I printed it out and put it on the fridge. One day, he called and asked if he could come visit when he was 16. I want to hear more war stories, he said. The real ones, not the ones Mom told me. I told him I'd make pancakes and burn the first batch like always. By now, the account holding the insurance money had been formally returned to me. All of it. I decided to use the rest to start something called the Lazarus Fund, a scholarship program for children of incarcerated parents. The first application I read was from a girl whose mother was in prison for drug possession. She wanted to study psychology so she could understand why people self-destruct. I approved her in minutes. In late July, I got another letter from Emily. Just one line. I hope I can be someone you'd be proud to know again. I folded the letter and placed it beside the photo of us at the fair. This time, I didn't cry. I smiled. Later that summer, I got a call from the state's Office of Restorative Justice. They had received a request from Emily. She's asking for a mediated meeting, the representative said. A structured conversation. With you. Only if you're open to it. I was silent for a few seconds. I'll think about it, I said, though I already knew I would say yes. The meeting took place in a small room in the correctional facility, nothing fancy. Just 3 chairs. A facilitator sat between us, a middle-aged woman named Anita, soft-spoken, trained in trauma-informed mediation. Emily entered the room slowly, clutching a small spiral notebook. She sat down across from me and didn't speak right away. Anita opened gently. Emily, would you like to begin? Emily nodded. I've written something, she said, not meeting my eyes. Go ahead, Anita said. She opened the notebook and read aloud. Her voice shook, but she didn't stop. When I think about what I did to you, I feel like I've been burning in a fire I lit myself. I stole your identity, your peace of mind, your trust and, in a way, your life. I planned a lie, executed it, and buried you in the ground while you were still alive. I want to say that I was desperate, that I had no options, but that doesn't change what I did. You raised me. You sang to me when I had fevers. You stood by me when no one else did. I betrayed all of that. Every day I wake up in this prison, I think about how I traded your love for a payout I never even enjoyed. If I could go back, I would choose differently. But I can't. So instead, I'm asking to be someone different going forward. Not for your forgiveness, though I hope for it someday, but for your understanding. Because I still love you, Dad. I never stopped. Not once. Even in the darkest moment. She folded the notebook and wiped her eyes. Anita remained quiet, giving the room space. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. No longer a villain. No longer a stranger. Just a woman. Flawed. Bruised by her choices. Still capable of change. I won't pretend those words fix everything, I said. But they matter. They show me you're not hiding from what you did. I'm not, she whispered. Not anymore. I took a deep breath. I don't know when I'll be ready to forgive you fully, Emily. But today I believe you're trying. And that means something. Her face broke. A small, trembling smile slipped through the cracks of guilt. Can I ask you one thing? She said. Do you ever think we could be a family again? I didn't answer right away. Then I nodded. Maybe not the family we were, but a new kind. A truer one. One built on honesty this time. She let out a shaky breath. Relief. Hope. Anita gently smiled. That's a beginning. After the meeting, I stood outside the facility for a long time, watching the sky change colors. The summer heat rising off the pavement. Something inside me had shifted. Not erased. Not forgotten. But softened. Forgiveness is not a door that opens one seats a hallway you walk down, one hesitant step at a time. Over the next few months, I kept busy at the community center. I started leading a writing group for seniors' memoirs, letters, even short fiction. One man in his 80s wrote about surviving the Dust Bowl. A woman named Marlene wrote love poems to her late husband and read them out loud with a proud sparkle in her eyes. They asked me to read something too. So I brought in a printout of the letter I'd sent Liam. I told them the story, not all the gory details, but enough. Enough for them to understand what it means to love someone who has hurt you. When I finished, the room was silent. Then Marlene whispered, "That's what healing sounds like." October brought cool winds and quiet nights. The trees blazed red and gold, and I took longer walks than usual. One afternoon, I found myself standing in front of my own headstone again. Yasmi's headstone was still there, still etched with my name, still blank on the end date. I called the cemetery office the next day. Would you like us to remove it, sir? The receptionist asked. I thought about it. No, I said. Leave it. Just plant something next to it. A tree. Something living. Any preference? A birch. I've always liked how they bend without breaking. She chuckled. That's poetic. I guess I've earned it. Liam visited me in person the following summer. 16 years old. Taller than I remembered. A little shy, but bright-eyed and curious. We spent the weekend cooking, walking the trails, playing chess. He beat me twice. He told me he was thinking about becoming a social worker, that he wanted to help kids like himself, ones caught in between broken systems and broken homes. I told him I was proud. I want to see Mom again, he said suddenly, as we sat on the porch swing. Do you think that's okay? That's your choice, I said. But if you do, go as the young man you are now, not the boy she left behind. He nodded thoughtfully. You still love her, don't you? He asked. I love the parts of her that are trying to come back, I answered honestly. I'm learning to let go of the rest. He leaned his head against my shoulder. That's what I want too. Before he left, I handed him something. A wooden box. Inside it were 3 things. The photo of me and Emily at the fair. The letter she read during the restorative meeting. A folded paper with 1 sentence handwritten on it. You can't change the beginning, but you can change where the story ends. He looked up at me. I want to write a book about us someday, he said. I hope you do. The day after Liam left, I stood in my kitchen, holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold in my hand. I looked out the window at the birch sapling near the headstone. It had grown half a foot since spring. The wind pushed its thin branches back and forth, and it swayed but didn't snap. Bend, don't break. I stood there for a long time. And then I picked up my pen and started writing a new story. I didn't expect to hear from Emily again so soon after the restorative meeting. But 2 months later, another letter arrived. This one was different, longer, messier, scribbled in the margins. Not polished or careful like the last. Just raw, human, and trying. Dad, I don't know if you ever sit awake at night like I do, but I still replay it all, the plan, the forged paperwork, the funeral, the look on your face. I thought the moment I saw you alive again, I would be flooded with relief. But what hit me instead was shame so deep, I swear it left bruises. But something else happened too. I started remembering. Not just the bad stuff. Not just the years we stopped talking or the grief that closed up our house like a tomb. I remembered you teaching me how to fix a flat tire. I remembered how you used to tap the steering wheel in rhythm to old country songs. I remembered you holding Mom's hand in the hospital, whispering that she could go if she needed to. You were always stronger than I knew. And now I'm trying to be stronger too. The prison offers a trauma group on Thursdays. I didn't go at first, thought I didn't deserve to heal. But the truth is, I'm starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, people who break things can still learn how to hold again. I hope you're okay. I hope Liam's okay. If either of you ever want to visit again, you'll always be welcome. Love, Emily. I reread that letter twice. Then I folded it carefully and placed it in the same box where I kept her first letter and the picture from the fair. That box had become something sacred now. Not a shrine to grief, but a reminder that healing takes time. And courage. It takes both. By autumn of that year, the community center invited me to speak at a special fundraiser. They said the Lazarus Fund had already helped 15 teens enroll in college or trade school, and they wanted me to share my story. I wasn't thrilled about the idea of standing in front of a microphone, dredging it all up again. But I also knew, if even one person in that room felt less alone because of what I said, maybe it was worth it. I wore my only clean blazer, polished my shoes, and brought a single index card. On it, I'd written 3 words. Grief, forgiveness, growth. When they called my name, I walked up and stood in the soft light. The room was full of faces, young, old, curious, kind. And I told the truth. I told them how I'd been betrayed, how I'd been buried, how I'd survived not death, but disappointment so sharp it felt like drowning. But I also told them what came after. The letters, the conversations, the small, fragile steps toward reconciliation. And I ended with this. I don't stand before you tonight as a victim. I stand here as a man who's learned that sometimes the second chapter of a story can be the most honest one. Because it's the chapter where the characters stop pretending and start becoming. Applause. Some tears. But more than anything, I remember the silence between the claps. The silence that held weight. Understanding. Connection. That meant more than any donation ever could. A week later, I got a call from Liam. He sounded nervous. Mom might get out early, he said. They're reviewing her for early release in 18 months. Good behavior, program completion. It's not a sure thing, but I let him speak. She's scared, he added. And I think she's scared of seeing you again more than anything else. I don't blame her, I said. Would you come with me? When I visit next. I paused. The porch was quiet. The trees had turned gold again. Life was moving forward gently, but surely. Yes, I said. I'll come with you. The visit was set for mid-October. The morning of, I put on a soft gray sweater Emily had given me when she was 19. I almost didn't wear it. Then I did. Liam drove us in his beat-up Camry. He fiddled nervously with the radio, but neither of us said much on the road. Sometimes quiet is the best conversation two men can have. At the facility, he held the door open for me. She was already seated in the visiting area. Her eyes lit up when she saw us, but she didn't rise. Just waited. Patient. Humble. Hi, she said when we sat down. Hi, Mom, Liam replied first. I just nodded. Then I reached into my pocket and took out a small envelope. Inside was a photo of Liam and me from last month fishing by the lake. He was holding up a bluegill with the same proud grin I'd once seen on her face when she caught her first fish at 12. Emily took the photo gently. Her hand trembled. I've missed a lot, she said. You've got a lot of time left, I said. Use it well. We didn't hug. Not that time. But we all sat there, the three of us, for a long while. Talking. Laughing a little. Remembering more. And in that moment, I realized. This wasn't a reunion. This was a rebuild. Over the next year, we kept writing. I visited twice more with Liam. I didn't rush things. I didn't demand apologies every time. Some things can't be said 100 ways, they can only be lived differently. Emily was released 21 months later. She didn't come live with me. She went to a transitional home first. Found a part-time job at a nonprofit helping formerly incarcerated women re-enter the workforce. It was hard, and she slipped more than once. But she never stopped trying. And that made all the difference. Today, I sit at my desk again, writing these last lines. The birch tree outside my window is taller than me now. Its white bark peels in soft curls, and its branches sway gently in the Kansas wind. Liam's in college now studying social work, just like he said. He calls every Sunday, just like his mother used to. Emily visits twice a month. We bake sometimes. Watch old movies. She's quieter than before, but I don't mind. There's a gentleness in her now that didn't exist before prison. Sometimes, she brings homemade cards from the women she mentors. One of them wrote, "Your daughter gave me a second chance. Thank you for giving her one too." I keep that one on my fridge. They say death changes people. But I think almost dying, almost being erased by the one you loved most does something deeper. It makes you choose. Choose whether you'll become bitter or better. Choose whether you'll stay buried in betrayal or claw your way back into the light. I chose to live, to forgive, to grow something new from what had been scorched. And now? Now I sit beneath a tree that shouldn't exist next to a grave that never held a body, and I smile. Because the man they tried to bury? He came back. Not just alive, but reborn.